Educational, a program produced for the Educational Television and Radio Center.
Spotlight on Opera. With University of California's Dr. Jan Popper.
Today I would like to talk to you about a favorite of mine, and I know a favorite of yours, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. The name alone sounds like music, doesn't it? You know, ladies and gentlemen, in spite of the fact that Mozart's music has given joy to millions of people, there's still a few who have the wrong conception of him. In fact, I was one of them. You know, as a boy, when I had to play Mozart sonatas, of course, I was not ready for these sonatas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and the other kids were out playing football, and here I had to practice Mozart sonatas. I couldn't help think of him, but of a very remote, classical, austere composer, something like a marble bust, maybe. As you find it in conservatories and in museums, and I'm afraid many people still have this idea. But that's all wrong, of course, because the same music will sound warm and lovely. Just a lovely singing melody. And as far as Mozart's personality and character is concerned, my goodness, all you have to do is read a few letters or a biography, and that marble bust idea will just fly out of the window. But you know, it would be just as wrong to think of Mozart only as a composer of gaiety, fun, and frolic, a typical Rococo composer, powdered wig, sword at his side, maybe a little bit the way the 6-year-old child prodigy looked when he played at the court of Maria Theresa in Vienna, and she gave him this lovely, handsome-looking outfit. Well, it is true, there's a lot of charm and grace in Mozart's music, but that's not all. There are also undertones of grief, of sorrow, of true emotions, only we have to listen for them a little bit more careful. For instance, something like this. This is Pamina's song from the Magic Flute. Can any melody be warmer? And things like that can be found all through Mozart's operas. Sometimes it is just sorrow like this. Sometimes it's outright distress or even terror. Now let me try, ladies and gentlemen, and point out to you where does really Mozart's greatness lie. That's not an easy thing to do, but I'll try it anyway. You know, there have been composers who have spoken the symphonic language very well, such as Brahms, Schumann, and Mendelssohn. Others were operatic people, Verdi, Puccini, Wagner. With Mozart, you find it all united. He speaks all these languages. This tremendous universality of Mozart certainly is one important point. In fact, he even writes popular and dance music. You wouldn't believe that. I know many purists don't. But you know, he wrote minuets, gavottes, counter dances, Ländlers. Well, that was the popular dance music of the time. Besides, you find him as a symphonic composer. His 49 symphonies certainly are the climax of 18th century symphonic writing. His 25 piano concertos are really the beginning of the modern piano concerto. Besides, concertos for violin, horn, clarinet, all various instruments. Chamber music, from duets, trios, up to these lovely nocturnes, serenades, which you still can hear when you come to Salzburg during the summer at candlelight. Church music, an entirely different style. There are masses, magnificats, for instance, his last Requiem, which is very well known. And then opera. comic opera, serious opera, all we find on the way as we follow Mozart. So you see this universality I like to point out to you once more. And this really isn't all. Because, you know, anybody can really, who is very diligent, can learn how to juggle notes around and become quite proficient in all of these fields. It takes a little more than that. It takes that human insight that Mozart had. He was not a revolutionist, he was not a reformer, and still what he touched, we find touched with a magic wand. Symphony, for instance. The way he wrote for a symphony orchestra. You would think he sits behind the clarinet or oboe player, so colorful, so warm. Speak to a flutist or oboist. He will tell you, well, Mozart must have played all these instruments because he writes exactly the way for the instrument as it should be written. Now, when it comes to opera, we find exactly the same thing. There, it's dramatic insight. His characters on stage really live. There's never just a stock character like a comedian. No, he might be a comedian, but you see, he changes as the drama goes on. Maybe let me show you at the piano how that works. I'd like to compare two operas for you, one by Rossini and one by Mozart. They're both based on the same plot. You see, the Marriage of Figaro is the first part of Beaumarchais, the Barber of Seville the second, and the Rossini opera was written 30 years later. Now, while the Rossini work is a wonderful opera buffa, comic Italian opera, sparkling gay, the Mozart is an opera buffa, but a human drama besides. Take, for instance, Figaro, as he enters in the Barber, typecast, sempre allegro, always gay. And basically, you know, that is the way he remains all through the opera. Figaro in the Marriage of Figaro is a little different. Yes, he can be gay too. For instance, the mock march song, which he sings at the end of the first act. Cherubino has been drafted into the army involuntarily, and Figaro pokes fun of him. But, for instance, there's a situation of that sort. Figaro just has found out that the Count has designs on his own little Susanna. Splendid, my dearest master. Now I'm beginning to understand the puzzle and see your purpose very clearly. So we all go to London, eh? And I'll be your valet, and little Susanna will be your private secretary. No, sir, that never will happen. And he sings this vengeance aria. Sir, if you like to learn how to dance, I will teach you the steps. You see, a jealous human being stands before us. Doesn't act any different as you or I would in a similar situation. Or let us turn, for instance, to Rosina in The Barber. You see, she is a lovely little doll all the way through. Sings some lovely gay music. In the Marriage of Figaro, she has become the Countess now, mature, stately, and disappointed. Because her husband does not love her anymore. And she sings this beautiful song. When we first meet her, God of love, restore his love to me. That does not prevent her, however, a few minutes later to be playful with Susanna and so on. With one word, she's not a stock weeping willow now going from the beginning to the end of this opera. Well, even Marcellina, who in this opera is, pardon my expression, sort of a battle axe, changes. After she has learned that Figaro is not her arch foe, but really is her own son. And she becomes quite a nice girl, all the way to the end of the dramatic change is so important. Strangely enough, when it comes to the ensembles now, Mozart still characterizes better because now he has a chance to compare various characters with each other. There is a nice situation right here. Again, pardon me for staying with Figaro so long, but this is wonderful for comparison. For instance, the trio in the first act. There's the Count. He is furious because Cherubino gets in his way everywhere. Besides, he's jealous of him. Go this minute, throw him out, right? Little Susanna, who is very distressed because at this very point, Cherubino is only hidden a few feet away. You see, very typically characterized. And Don Basilio. Well, Don Basilio rubs his hands, musically speaking. Well, sir, I really, it was just a gossip, of course. You see, he's the music master and the chief gossip of the plays. Now, all of this, in spite of that single characterization, blends together into a beautiful unit, into a trio. Let's listen to it right now. Well, here's our trio now. On my left, you see the furious Count, distressed little Susanna in the middle, and over there, Don Basilio, who is enjoying this embarrassing situation tremendously.
That's the limit. Go this minute. Find the culprit and throw him out. Go and find him and throw the culprit out. How ill-chosen was my story. Just a rumor without a doubt.
Will we throw it on a scandal if it's gossip gets about?
The delay and the longer we chosen. My spine was stronger last a rumor with
What
power.
will happen? Heaven help me. Oh, you see me very faint. Oh, you see me very faint.
I wish we could have done the whole trio for you, but you know there's a lot more music to be listened to. In the 36 short years of his life, Mozart wrote 22 works for the stage alone. You probably think he must have spent all his life at the writing desk. Well, this is not quite so. Look at this. Every one of these full marks represent 1 year in Mozart's life. Up here are the years spent at home. Down here, the years in travel. You can fully see how much time was spent on trips, but do not misunderstand, ladies and gentlemen. He did not just go on pleasure trips. Those were concertizing trips, sometimes job hunting trips. And while he concertized, while he composed, he studied at the same time. He absorbed Italy, France, Germany. That made a true internationalist out of him. Over there is my opera scrapbook. Let's look at a few of the important personalities in Mozart's life. Here are two views of the town of Salzburg. As you see, Salzburg was not the hustling, bustling town which it is today, but really just a provincial little Austrian town. Up here, the fortress, from where the mighty Archbishop princes ruled the entire country. Mozart didn't get too well along with them, by the way. Leopold, Mozart's father, a wise man, excellent musician, good violinist, who at the same time educated the young man and served as his manager. Here's Nannerl, Mozart's sister. She was a good pianist and good musician too, but later on resigned her career in favor of her brother. Here we see Leopold present his little son to the imperial court in Schönbrunn near Vienna. The boy is only 6 years old. This is an interesting gentleman whom he met in London. Christian Bach, the son of the great Johann Sebastian. But Christian did not write as complicated music as Johann Sebastian, but elegant, tenderly melodic music. Mozart studied with him only a few weeks in London.